Okay, so we are recording now. Today's Lunch and Learn, I have invited the IT team to join us today to do some real-time troubleshooting. And they're going to have Tech Tuesday. So every Tuesday, there will be a topic from one or some of the members of the team. And we're just going to hold that space for them to be able to come here and do some training with you. So today we have, let's see, we have Greg and Milt, and Shannon is here from the IT team. Am I missing anyone? Neil? No. All right. And today's topic is kind of just real-time troubleshooting and some troubleshooting tips. So I'm going to hand this over to you guys now.
I think one of the, I guess I'll start unless Milt, you have something burning your britches. One of the most common tech requests and tech tickets that we see are based around around the video conferencing. And so we have what's called a Meet quality tool, which we can see on the back end, and we could see what problems people might be having, whether it's video related, CPU related, network related, and we can kind of, and then we can look up what device you have and then troubleshoot based on that. But we really do need to hear from everybody if they're having video problems, because it's generally back to the device or their internet connection, or sometimes their, I guess, workflow. I happened to help somebody who was having stuttering problems during a video conference, and it turned out that they had, when I remoted into their machine, they had, I want to say 40 Chrome tabs open, which I actually screenshot because I couldn't really believe it. It was so many that it just looked like lines, you know, across. So that's really the most common thing that we're seeing now is problems with video conferencing and connecting. And we have ways of kind of troubleshooting that. So people should really hit us up with that. And if somebody's device is really at stake, we have been replacing people's devices with ones with better GPUs in them, or graphics processors or CPUs in them. So that's one thing that we want to kind of get out, that we can help you through some of these, particularly video conferencing problems.
Hey, Greg, you want to show them how to do an internet test, speed test?
Sure. You can go to Google and
show them, share your screen, go to Google and explain what the upload and download is and what an acceptable, like, you know, number might be.
I have actually 4 screens up and 3 versions of Chrome open, so I don't know what to share at the moment, but you could just go to Google and type screen test and either use Ocala's, and really anything above 10 megabits per second should be enough to do decent video conferencing. Sometimes even less than that. And it all depends. Milton, do you want to speak to this issue?
Yeah, I was just saying, if they're using a Google search, if you type internet speed test into Google, it'll bring up a speed test right within Google now. You don't even have to go to another third-party site.
Do you want to show? Can you share your screen and show that?
Sure, yeah. Give me 2 seconds here. All right, so can everybody see that now? The webpage I'm currently on?
Yep.
So again, I just searched speed test in Google, and we can jump back to that. But we Google search when you do it will bring up this internet speed test now. And if you hit run, it's going to just run a speed test on your network. And again, as Greg said, what you want to see is this over 10. You can see mine obviously is much better than that, but 10 megabits per second upload or download, excuse me. And you're hoping to see an upload similar. Now, you're going to definitely see a lower speed in the upload as you see on mine. The better that is, the better your sending video will be. But Google also does give you a little narrative description of how they believe your internet is based on the speeds they've just tested. So you don't just have to know what the numbers mean. It does give you, some description to show that you're doing fine or you're not so great, and what they believe your internet might be able to handle based on the speeds you're seeing. So in this case, my download is fine and my upload is good as well. Again, anything over 10 megabits is going to be just fine for almost everything you're going to do. But again, the upload is more relevant in the case of sending video to other folks. So if other people are seeing your video as hitchy, then it may be your upload speed that has something to do with that. But it also could be on their end. So again, that's why it's important for everybody to let us know if they're having issues, and we can try to identify where those issues might be coming from.
Yeah, and then also check with your internet service provider of how much you're paying for. So if you're only getting 10, but you're paying for 150, make sure you call them and say, hey, I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting. And it also depends on if you're only getting 10 and you have 5 members in your household trying to use the internet at the same time, that's going to make a difference. And depending on what you're working on.
Now, my household is particularly extreme. I have servers in the basement, and I have 3 kids, and myself, and sometimes all 4 of us are gaming at the same time. Sometimes 5 or 6 people in the household gaming at the same time. So we have gigabit internet through Comcast, and it's only, I don't have local phone server. I don't have phone service through Comcast or any cable internet. I stream everything. But it's only $100 gigabit internet. If I were to do the same speed test, mine would be 950 something. And that is a great deal. And it's super overkill if you don't have a lot of people in the household. Also, to tack on to what Milt was saying, if your upload is higher than your download, you likely have a router configuration issue. Or if things are streaking by very slowly and those statistics seem to be misbalanced every time you do a test, then your router is at issue and needs to be serviced in some way. Router configuration issues are another thing that I don't think are passing on to our team because it is home internet, but I have heard that Comcast and other providers have stepped up their help desk procedures because they're seeing an increased, troubleshooting element to everybody now. So they have been a little bit more proactive when it comes to that. So if those tests look off, you could take a screenshot. And in Windows, I think it's Windows key Shift S, or is it Windows key Alt S to just do that window or the browser window. Is that right, Mel?
I never even use that anymore. I use the snipping tool. It makes it a little easier.
Yeah, there's a lot of extensions that you can find in the Chrome store for taking screenshots. I don't know about you, but one of my pet peeves is when somebody's showing me something and they take a picture of their screen. That just nerd triggers me majorly, because all they really have to do is hit the print screen button on their computer and it'll take a nice screenshot and they can email that to us. And it just is very clear what we're looking at.
If you're on a Windows machine, there's tools built into your machine. There's a snipping tool, and then there's a new one called Snip and Sketch. So if you search for that in your Windows search bar at the bottom, it should come up. And I pin those to my bar so that I can use it all the time. It's super easy. I'm sure there's probably a Chrome app that does the same. It makes it a lot
There's
easier.
quite a few
Yeah.
that you can get from the Chrome store.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it
Chrome
has
OS,
its own built-in print screen thing.
right.
Yeah.
Chrome OS has a built-in screenshot function. If you hit the control and the switch window keys
Yeah.
in the function bar at the top, that'll capture a full screenshot of the entire screen. And if you do Control Shift and then the switch window keys, it will capture a screenshot just of the current window.
Nice. So we have a couple comments. Greg Stiles says crazy.com is another easy one. So I'm assuming that's a speed test as well. And then Aura Lee did her own speed test. I guess why were we doing this? And she says, oh, geez, mine is at 3.27. She's using her Surface because her Chromebook can't handle video meetings. So should Aura Lee get in contact with you guys about that?
100%.
Okay.
We've identified Chromebooks that were distributed to, and we had no idea that this was the case. They have very weak processors and GPUs in them, and they've been distributed to Poultney, Rutland Town. I think that's it, right? Or they could be found everywhere.
Yeah,
probably.
we have a couple of them around at various locations, but it's not necessarily guaranteed that it's the Chromebook that's the problem, though. So definitely get in contact with us, and we can, like I say, or like Greg said, look through the Meet quality tool we have and try to identify what the issue might be in each case. And I see the comment there that the Chromebook is new. It doesn't necessarily matter. These are brand new Chromebooks that just have a substandard processor, is what we found out after the fact. Even completely brand new machines with a substandard processor, even though they seem to do everything else just fine, have some problems with video in this case. So we've replaced those as needed.
And Lisa said she did a speed test too, and hers was terrible. Well, it could be a reason why you're having so much trouble with your meets today. I noticed Google Meet's acting a little weird, though. I see sometimes people are in here twice. Has anyone noticed that today? It's been a little weird today. Greg said it's fast.com, not crazy.com. So don't go to crazy.com because that might bring you something else. All right. What about some other common issues you guys have been seeing that they might be able to troubleshoot themselves?
One thing we were just chatting about recently in the tech department, a common web technology that you might have heard about is Flash. It was Adobe Flash. A lot of different web applications utilized Adobe Flash for a long time, and Chrome has Flash built in, so you don't have to install a plugin. But unfortunately, Flash is kind of going out. It's been a security risk for a very long time, and so web companies are getting together to kill it off, essentially. But unfortunately, that means that some websites we use that still utilize Flash don't work sometimes. And you're going to wonder why. And it's because Chrome is trying to get us not to use them. So if a website is not functioning for you and it says, maybe you need the Flash plugin, or maybe Flash is disabled, there's a quick way to turn that back on, and it's right in the Chrome settings. I'm going to share my screen again here, and I can show you that. Give me 1 second. The most common one that we're seeing that on now is Jump Rope. So if you can see my screen again, I'm on the Jump Rope login page. When you log into Jump Rope, it depends on which version you're in. I'm going to jump into the admin panel, so we won't see exactly the same thing. But either way, when you're in Jump Rope, you may get an error message saying that you don't have Flash, or that you need to enable Flash. And if you do, all you have to do, if you click this little lock icon that's right up here in the address bar, it's going to bring up an options panel relevant to the site that you're on, and you'll see Flash here. And you just need to flip this to allow instead of ask or block.
So did you only share your tab? Because we don't see that pop up.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. Sorry. All right, so is everybody seeing the whole Chrome now?
Yeah, we see. Yep, it looks like we are. Yep.
Okay, and when I click the lock icon, there you go. Now you see that. So this is just a little pop-up that displays the permissions and things for this site that we're on right now. And on this site, I can flip this flash to allow. And once you've done that, it'll ask you to reload your page. You just click that button, it will reload, and then Flash will be functional on that page. Unfortunately, again, Google and other web companies are really trying to get Flash to completely leave the web. And so that setting will not save if you completely close Chrome, and reopen, you're going to have to do it again. It will save basically as long as Chrome is open. But if you ever close Chrome, you're going to be right back where you were.
Yeah, so we've seen a little bit of increase on our side too of people asking about that. And Al made a screencast. It's on our YouTube channel as well. And it's also linked in the newsletter that we sent out this week. Or you can go back and watch this video as well.
I'd like to actually show show you guys the meat quality tool.
Okay, yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so you see the list here of participants to the left-hand side.
Yep.
Right now, I could see that Kathleen Cronin, she's maxed out for network congestion. And I could see that Cynthia Cassidy is maxed out on her CPU. Lisa, you're looking not great. And we could also see if you're not sure if somebody was in it. We could also do error checking for the logs too. If you have a student, causing problems, we could get video evidence. Also, it was we have in the past provided logs so that we could prove to parents that they are receiving services like special ed services, and say no, they connected, they talked. And we could see what the length of the conversation was, or if somebody shared, like you could see here, you could see when Milt shared his screen and things like that. And that kind of stuff was also used to the principals for disciplinary. If a student, we could show that a student shared something inappropriately, and this is when they did it. Just that kind of thing. But yeah, there's users on here right now that we could see, I could see with this tool that are having problems. It's a little behind the scenes view of our tool set.
Thank you. Sarah asks if this is a tool that we can access as teachers, or do they need to contact you to get the information?
No, this is just for top level Google admins.
Okay. But if they're curious, they could contact you and you could share that information with them.
I've probably sent out like 50 screenshots showing, with red circles on it, showing what the issue is. I don't know, Milt or Neil, if you've done the same thing, but it's very clear most of the time what is happening. If you just bring up the meet that they were in, you could search by their name, see all the meets that they have been participated in, go to the exact one that they were having trouble, and we can get the data very quickly as to what it was. Although I have to say that there are no quick solutions. Like I told you that Pulteney had a higher number of the Chromebooks with bad GPUs in them, or I would say substandard GPUs for this. But they were on delay up until very recently. We're getting a shipment next week, but they are 3 weeks behind schedule. So there are no quick hardware fixes And in fact, we probably will be getting spares to them from whatever building we can find spares. But equipment there are bottlenecks for getting the equipment sorted. But if it's something behavioral, we could talk somebody through that.
Okay, yeah. So if you're noticing that you're having some connectivity issues, and you don't know why, you can reach out to send a tech ticket in, and they'll help narrow it down and figure out, is it your internet or is it your device? And they can go from there. Awesome. Do you guys we have maybe about 10 minutes, a little less left. I'm going to open it up. Does anybody have any specific tech questions that you want to ask now that you have their attention?
No news is good news.
I know, right? Is there any last things you want to show them, though, you guys? I see Neil. I think Neil joined us. Did I see him in there? Yep, Neil's here.
I know Neil has something that he wants.
Neil, do you have anything you want to share or show or talk about, like some common problems that could be done with a quick troubleshoot? Oh, Lisa has a question. Lisa says, what do you think is the most important thing staff and students can do to keep their devices running well?
Oh, that is perfectly teed up for you, Neil. Unless he's helping his daughter on her meet, with her classroom teacher.
I feel like there must be something.
Neil, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I can take that one, definitely. So I think two of the most important things, Greg kind of touched upon one of them earlier, just the number of tabs you have open in Chrome, if you're using Chrome. But really, whatever web browser you're utilizing, they all sort of feature tabs these days. The more tabs you have open, the more of your system resources that Chrome is utilizing. And really, it can snowball very quickly. It doesn't take many tabs to really eat up the system memory. Chrome is a memory hog. It's trying to make sure its performance is good so that whatever you're doing, it does it well. But when you have a lot of things going on, a lot of tabs open, it definitely can slow your machine down. And certainly for something like video conferencing, you want to have your machine without all that extra bogged down nature. So as few tabs as possible. Now, you may not be able to have no extra tabs because you're presenting something or you need some other documents up to reference while you're in the meeting, and that's fine. But trying to have as little as possible is super helpful, and that really doesn't just go for meetings. It can be for almost any aspect of utilizing the web. So just keep that in mind. That's one. The same for if you're on a Windows machine, other programs. If you're running multiple things on the machine at once, the more you're doing, the slower it will be overall. But the second, I think, it might even be the first thing, restarting the computer fairly frequently is very, very helpful. Computers, are only really as efficient as all of the folks who programmed every piece of software on it, which we're all human. Everybody made a ton of mistakes while they were making all these programs. That's why we see bugs in applications all the time. And really, those things compound over time. So the longer something is running, the more of those bugs may have built up in the background or sort of bogging down the system. And restarting it kind of resets everything to zero. So it will hopefully help your performance quite a bit to restart. And you don't have to do that every 10 minutes or something, but at least every day, every couple of days, something like that. If you're really using the machine heavily, it can really help. And for students with Chromebooks, we see a lot that they think when they close the Chromebook, it's shutting it down. It really doesn't. They really do have to hold the power button down to shut it down appropriately. When it's all the way shut down, that's when it's going to do that reset procedure, not when they close the lid and open it back up. That's just going what the computer is called to sleep. It's saving the state as it was when you close the lid. And when you reopen it, it brings it right back, including all the bugs.
Awesome.
Neil, would you like to add any common problems that you're seeing?
I missed the first part, so I'm not sure what sounds like you were talking about student Chromebooks, so I was trying to catch on what was being discussed. But
it was mainly about what are you seeing? I think you're the one who's worked on the most hardware issues and the most troubleshooting issues. Like, what is there something that you would want to communicate? Mill was just kind of saying, restart your machine, close all the tabs. I went through like the meet quality tool, which we could tell what the CPU, the network bandwidth, etc. But is there something else that you would like to impart that you see most commonly, or best practices, I guess you could say?
Well, I've definitely seen a trend in certain schools, mostly in, I'd say, grades 4 to 6, in that range, where they over time have installed apps or extensions into their Chrome browser that create conflicts. It prevents them from opening links. It prevents them from opening YouTube. It blocks things that they can't use, that they normally can use. And most of the time, when they remove those extensions and apps that they may have installed, 9 out of 10 times that resolves it. Clearing the cache to remove some of the stored, bits of information in their browser. Clear all that stuff out. And also updating it. A lot of students aren't familiar with even updating, and sometimes you have to kind of nudge the Chromebook, especially if it's if it's not updating automatically, go in and manually check. And sometimes they realize, oh, there's an update there, and that I'd say about 90% of the issues that I've encountered, I've sent those same sheets that I shared with the with you guys in a previous meeting, those 2 student guides. 9 out of 10 times, those few things resolve the issue. It's clear the cache, update, and remove those extensions.
Hey, Milton, can you show real quick what it looks like to clear the cache in your browser?
Sure. Yeah. Let me.
Or Neil, sorry, Milt or Neil, sorry.
Yeah, not a problem.
Either or.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little different on the Chromebook, but for the most part, it's the same. You're just getting into the settings.
Right. There's a few different ways to do it depending on what we're trying to clear. If you're trying to clear the cache for a particular website, so sometimes a student or staff member is having trouble accessing one website, it's behaving oddly, or something just isn't working as it should, and that's a fairly simple process. Actually, using the same button that I showed folks earlier, the little lock icon. Let me share my screen again, and I will show that.
And I'll add the link to the student guide that I've shared to quite a few students.
So again, I'm just using Jump Rope as an example site here. But if you click the little lock icon, so this is going to show you essentially the information relevant to just this website. And there's this little cookies menu option here after I've clicked the lock icon. And when you open that up, these are all of the essentially what they call cookies. And what that really means is just local content stored on your machine for these websites. Things like your username and other saved information for you, so that when you go back to that site, it's got your name in there already and things like that. Sometimes this stuff can get just messed up. The storage can be screwed up. So when you're running down through a problem for a website and you need to clear it, if you just delete these, and you can use remove, not block, and it will pull out all of these cookies that are currently there for this website. So if you see, I'll hit remove and it'll just take the top one that was selected out, but you can just keep clearing that out until it's empty. Now you've cleared the cookies for that particular website. When you hit done, you're back on this. It's a fresh copy of those things now for you. And that can do it one site at a time.
Okay, while you still have your screen up, oh, you just stopped it. So either one of you guys, can you also show where to go to update your browser, and 2, where to go to fill out a tech ticket?
Sure, I can do that again. Let me pull that window back up. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I did in the chat. I added a link to the student guide. It's the same for teachers that with Chromebooks as well.
Awesome.
A couple screenshots step by step.
Thank you. And I also for how to update your Chromebook, Neil also made a guide, and I put that in the newsletter as well. So Milt's going to show you right now. So you can
So
watch
yeah, so updating on a Chromebook is slightly different, but really you can go to the same place for updating Chrome or Chrome OS. The easiest way to get there, when you click the three little dots here next to your, it's really usually just underneath the X, that'll bring up the Chrome menu. And if you go to Help and About Chrome or Chrome OS, either way, when you go to that page, it will tell you what version of Chrome you are on and if it is up to date. And if it is not up to date, right here, there'll be an update button, which you can click.
Yeah.
And that will run the update on Chrome or Chrome OS.
And oftentimes up in those three dots, if there is an update that it really wants you to do, you'll see like an arrow, and it's all green if it's new. If it's not, it starts turning like color. It'll go to orange.
Right.
Or red. It's like
the actual box will be replaced in that case with a little arrow pointing up.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. It's letting you know there is an update, and it doesn't do that immediately, but yeah, after your browser or Chrome OS is well out of date, it will start to try to prompt you more and more urgently with various colors, just to let you know there is an update. You really should do that.
Yeah. And can you show them how to get to sending a tech ticket?
Absolutely. So if you are on any of our GRCSU websites, if you click the little, excuse me, not websites, I'm sorry, if you're on any of our G Suite tools, so if you're on Gmail, Google Calendar, or basically any of the other normal Google tools, you should see this little grid icon for Google Apps. And if you click that, if you are, again, logged into our GRCSU account, you will see, if you continue scrolling down, eventually, Mojo Help Desk. That's the quickest way to access the Mojo Help Desk, generally for everyone. If you have submitted a ticket before, you may have this bookmarked, and that's fine. But certainly for first use, for anyone who's submitting a tech ticket, this is the recommended way to go through, because it will link your GRCSU Google account to our Mojo Help Desk automatically this way. So again, if you click this, it's going to go into the Mojo Help Desk. Now for me, I think it's probably going to jump into the tech side, so I'll have to swap that. And of course, now I don't remember how. I'm sorry. Give me just one moment. Nope. Sorry, this is just because I'm jumping in from the other side.
Yeah, because he's an admin to it, so it looks a little different.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not going to look like you folks would normally see it.
Yeah, I don't think you can, Mill. I don't think you could simulate a user.
They did used to have the option to go in that way. Yep, I can't seem to sort that out right now.
I mean, it's pretty obvious once you get into it. It kind of directs you. I think there's a button to click a new ticket.
But essentially, yeah, I mean, it's going to look similar to this. You won't see, obviously, assignments for you. You don't have any tickets for yourself. But if you hit the new ticket button, you're going to see there's a basic request. And when you do that, you're going to get this ticket form that shows your email address and then allows you to fill out this basic information, the subject. A queue is basically like a pre-selected subject. In some ways, you still have to give us an actual subject. But a queue, you're going to say, oh, this is about Google Apps, or it's an Infinite Campus ticket, whatever subject area for your ticket. Priority, this is a self-selected priority for your ticket, how urgent you believe the matter is. Try not to overdo this. If you throw it in as an emergency and it's really not something super urgent, it actually can cause problems, because we're trying to prioritize things as much as we can in which things we believe to be the most urgent, as far as, if we have massive system outages for an entire application that is used widely, that's going to have a higher priority for us. And if someone's, got something in there as an emergency and they can't read one email, even if that might feel very urgent to you, we want to, try to keep things as prioritized as we can. So try to select what you really believe that priority to be. And again, not to say you can't tell us something is more urgent if it is. Provide a description of the actual problem. And the more detail you can put in here, the better. As much detail as you can. If it's a problem with a particular student, please do list their name. This is a secure system. It's only accessible by folks who are logged in, and for a particular ticket, only by the submitter and by the tech folks. So absolutely include as much information as possible about what the issue is. And every bit of detail you can is really helpful for us so that we can begin to actually investigate the issue. And location, it's always going to ask you which one of the schools you are a part of or where the particular issue might be occurring. Now, again, in this case, we're all at home, but you can still have to choose which site you were typically at. And then create.
And then they will get an email, right, generated from the system that their ticket has been submitted. And
correct.
And oftentimes, I know the technicians and you guys respond to tickets through the system. And I don't think a lot of people realize that and don't look for an email response asking follow-up questions. I know we're over time, but maybe you can, you or Neil can talk a little bit about that.
It's actually, they get an email notification through the system. So when they get an email, you know, it alerts them in their inbox, and it'll say Mojo help desk. So I think it's pretty clear. I think a lot of people just ignore it because it doesn't necessarily look like a regular email. But anything that has that, you see that Mojo attached to the address or anything, that's usually an indication it's a response from us. And you know, we've opened it up to where they can reply to those notifications within their Gmail, and it keeps it contained in the ticket. What happens a lot of times is teachers will generate multiple tickets for the same issue when they're just following up on a ticket versus going into the system and adding a new comment to the same ticket. So that does slow things down. You know, I could give you tons of examples. I'm not going to waste your time. You can imagine, but it does slow things down. So, you know, we want to be efficient and also, you know, quick, you know, as little downtime as possible. So
I think one of the things
tickets.
I think one of the things that can get confusing with that, when you do first submit a ticket, you do get an email notifying you that the ticket has been created. And any responses we send, any requests for additional information, when you're in Gmail, those get threaded together. And what that means is that it shows up as like a reply to that same email. And so you might think that it's not a new email, it's just that initial email you got from Mojo if you haven't opened it. Already saying, oh, I made a ticket, because you knew that. It'll show up as a follow-up to that email. So definitely go in and take a look at that. And it will pop back up to the top if there's a response, but you definitely want to take a look, because that's where we may be asking, hey, can you give us additional information for this? And you think we've not responded at all, but really there's a question in there that we needed more information on, or some other bit we're trying to communicate with you.
Right. And you don't have to do this through the email. That's the other thing, is they literally, if they're not sure or they want to check on the ticket, you go back into the Mojo system where you submitted the ticket and you just check on the status of it. There's probably a comment in there, and then you can respond back right there within the ticket from Mojo. So if the email thing isn't working, just, periodically go in and check on the status of the ticket, because a lot of times we mark it off as requested information. And so I know I'm waiting to hear back from somebody. That's how I know. It's telling me I'm waiting. I sent them a response. I'm waiting to hear back. And sometimes those will sit there for a month, or I'll follow up a week or two later, and I still don't hear back. So it's just important to keep the ticket open and going. Otherwise, I think within 2 weeks, if I don't hear back from them within like 2 weeks, I'll generally close the ticket and say, if this is still a problem, please resubmit a ticket. Because a lot of times people resolve it and they don't notify us or something. So, but they don't have to do it through Gmail, is my point.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. We've run over time a bit, but I think this was very useful and helpful. And they will be back again next Tuesday. So tune in next Tuesday. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.